And we're live.
All right. Good evening and welcome to the Litchfield Recreation Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. Before we begin, I would like to once again mention that the LRC has 4 open positions for alternate members. If you would like to be a member of this team or an alternate member of this team, please email us at rc@litchfieldnh.gov. So to begin with, we're going to do a call to order. Let's have a roll call of members. We have Vice Chair Andy Ruggles.
Present.
Secretary Peter Ames.
Present.
Member Mike Boshi.
Present.
Member Chris Burns.
Present.
My name is Steve Gannon, and I am the chair. Absent tonight with prior notification is member Andy Collins and our selectman's rep, Stephen Weber. So we have 5 members making a quorum, therefore we're able to make motions and vote. I would like to add one item, last minute item to the agenda, and this is we will have a non-public session tonight under RSA 91A32C under reputation. So let's consideration of minutes of previous meetings. We have 2 meeting minutes to move on. Dates of our April 13th, 2012 and April 27th, 2012. I wrote that wrong. Has everyone received and had a chance to review the meeting minutes?
Yes.
Yes. Guys all set?
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from April 13th, 2021.
We have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Motion by Mr. Ruggles, second by Mr. Burns. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Ames?
Aye.
Mr. Boshi?
Abstain.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion will carry 401. How about, can we have a motion for April 27th?
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from April 27th, 2021.
Can I have a second?
I will second.
Seconded by Mike Boshi. Any edits, changes, or discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Boshi?
Abstain.
Abstain. Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Mr. Ames?
Abstain.
I am an aye. Motion will carry 301.
302, right?
302. Yeah. Thanks for the math. Public input. Do we have anybody besides Judy? We have Judy on the agenda tonight. We have a dial-in call. Would that be Mr. Lane?
That's correct.
Hi, Ryan. How are you tonight?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I don't have anything for public input. Just when you guys are ready for any field updates, I'm here, especially if there's any questions.
Actually, now would be a good time if you want to go.
Pretty routine at the moment. Nothing really stand out. The last items that were brought up for discussion at the meeting, mainly repairs, have all been handled. There was an email that went out last week in regards to the possibility of meeting on site at DARA to just discuss some elements of the irrigation design system. And we would just prefer to carry out that discussion in order to better, detail what we're talking about. It's pretty hard to do over the phone. So I hope that we can possibly nail down a date and at least get a couple members of the rec committee. I know it's tough for people to meet outside of work and balancing their home lives, but if we can just get a few eyes on site to go over, that would be very helpful.
Ryan, I'll touch base with you this week. I'll get a couple dates together with you, and I'll put them out to the board, and we can take a roll call and see who can make, what day most members can make it there.
Perfect.
All right. Is there any other items you'd like to discuss with us tonight, Ryan?
No, I think that would be it. Like I said, everything's pretty routine at the moment. We're in really good shape. It's been a very forgiving spring, and fields are in great shape. We probably will start mowing twice a week moving forward. It's been nice to get some natural rainfall, the result of which is just an incredible flush of growth. Other than that, nothing really standing out at this time. So I'm just here to answer any questions that may pop up if anybody has them now.
I took a ride down to Dara today. The field looks really nice. Thank you for replacing that piece of wood with an actual cover. I encourage the rest of the board to take a ride to all the different fields and give a nice evaluation of how they look so that we can provide Ryan with feedback on how he is doing and the performance he is doing. But from what I could tell, the fields I visited, I think they're looking very strong.
Thank you, Steve. And I can't stress that enough. If anything jumps out at somebody, we try to be on top of everything. And sometimes we might miss something or what have you. And it's so helpful to us to get that feedback right away so we can address it and make sure that we're meeting and our intent is to exceed expectations. So thank you for that.
Yeah, Ryan, this is Peter Rains. Just also wanted to add in my thanks. The fields look fantastic. So I've had the chance to drive by a couple in the last week or so, and they all just come back really strong, looking, like you said, absolutely flush. So I know it's spring, and this is kind of the pinnacle of green in the season, but done a fantastic job. So looks really good.
Thank you, Peter.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. All
You're
right.
welcome. Thank you all.
Do we have any other public that wishes to speak besides Judy? Not seeing any,
Chair,
not hearing any?
If you don't mind, I can give the board a complete update on the tower effort down at the Boyd Memorial.
Go for it, John.
Yeah, so John Burnell, for those folks who don't know me, there had been some inquiries, so I just figured I'd give the whole commission an update around the fencing around the tower installation down at Memorial's parking lot. After weeks of trying to struggle and getting a vendor to come out and give us an actual quote, we have one in place, and we're hoping to have the fence around that perimeter in about 4 weeks or so. Everything else at that site is actually ready to go, except power will be installed next week. So once that power is installed, that site will be 100% operational.
All right. Without a fence, it doesn't pose any hazards, right? It's not a climbing hazard or anything else.
No, I mean, right now there's anti-climbers on the tower itself. They pretty much would have to have a ladder to get up there if they want to try to climb it. There is an ice bridge that's about knee high. They could get on there and stand on it, but that's a normal, it's height, like being on a bench. Again, we want to fence it. We've just been having some difficulties trying to get vendors to come out and respond, and actually supply of material has also been an issue. So, but like I said, we have one. Hopefully within the next 4 weeks or so, it'll be up and running.
Thank you for the update. All right, I think we could close public input. We don't have anybody in the facility with us, and I don't see anybody else attending online. Next item is facility and field requests. I have not seen any come in this week. We do have one open item from last meeting that we should probably review. It had some action items and pending its full approval. This was for the CHS Senior Field Day on June 8th from 9 to 2. They're looking to use pretty much all of Roy Memorial Park. Some of the items we had to follow up on was one was the validate insurance. Has anybody received any information from from CHS on the coverage of insurance?
I have not received that yet. I will reach out again this week.
Thank you, Andy. Second one was cleansing and sanitizing. I thought he mentioned the Campbell staff was going to assist with that. If not, I will speak to our road agent and get them the supplies that they need for that day. All they're going to have to do is sanitize the porta potty. They're not using Talent Hall at all, so it's just the porta potty.
Correct.
The EMT approved use of it, and we've already notified Ryan and spoke to him last meeting, and he's here tonight, so just a refresher. So once we get the insurance validated, she has the all clear to use it, and we should probably block off the basketball and softball fields and some kind of scheduling if we have the some way of scheduling that so people know. All right. New business. How about we start off with going with our alternate member first? We're going to give Miss Judy Brennan a real hard interview on the position. So Judy sent me this little blurb. She is interested in joining as an alternate member. She was the secretary of Litchfield Girls Softball League for approximately 5 years. She was a softball liaison rep for the rec commission meetings. And she worked with the annual Litchfield Blast Invitational as a tournament coordinator for about 5 years. She was a softball coach for rec teams and the Blast. She was part of the CHS Booster Club. She's part of St. Francis Christmas Tree Coordinator for 6 years. Julie was 28 years of an elementary education teacher. She is a certified personal trainer for over 5 years. Hobbies, she likes to hang from monkey bars. She likes obstacle course racing, avid hiker, currently hiking the section of the Appalachian Trail. She's going to take a first aid hiking course through AMC, the Appalachian Mountain Club. And reasons for wanting to be involved is to help expand, increase, build on activities for all ages in town. Excited to recently see commissions, groups in town working together for the benefit of our town, and how quickly things are accomplished when we work together. There's anything you'd like to add to that, Miss Judy Brennan? You're on mute. We can't hear you. We still can't hear you. Okay. How do you guys feel like moving on a motion to vote without speaking to Julie? Judy.
I'll make a motion to accept the alternate member.
I will second that motion.
All right. So now we have to remember this will be an appointment or a recommendation. We will have to go to the Board of Selectmen and they will do the actual appointment. Any discussions? Hearing none. Let's do a roll call vote. Mr. Andy Ruggles.
Aye.
Mr. Peter Ames.
Aye.
Mr. Mike Boshi, going alphabetical.
Aye.
Mr. Burns.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion to recommend Judy Brennan to the Recreation Commission as an alternate member. Pass 5-0-0. Thank you, Judy. We appreciate you coming forward. And next time we could have you in this room with us.
Well,
Just smile.
so Steve,
Yes.
Does Judy know what she needs to do to make this official?
Yeah, I'll speak with Judy directly
Okay.
personally.
Yeah.
I'm friends with Judy. She'll have to go. I think there was an application at one time. I do not see it online. So
Yeah,
I'm sure
there's
she can pick it up.
it's a volunteer application for the town. Yeah.
Yeah, and then fill it out, and then she'd have to get sworn in.
Well, that goes to the Board of Selectmen.
Board of
They-
Selectmen.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when they appoint, then she gets sworn in. All right. Thank you, Judy. Smile and wave. All right. New business. Going back to new business. Talent Hall reopening. We do have, and this is something we have on the list, I think, further down. The Boy Scouts are wishing to utilize Talent Hall for their meetings until the church opens. And that kind of brings up the point of, is it time to reopen Talent Hall, and what are the requirements and limitations that are in place? I believe last night they discussed it at the Board of Selectmen meeting, and they figured out, the fire chief went in and he figured out by this distancing and the square footage, they could have approximately 100 people in the facility, all being at least 6 feet apart. The cleaning and cleansing and sanitizing of the men's room and ladies' room is still a topic. I believe they said that the janitor here in town may be able to assist with ongoing maintenance of the facility. I would like to hear what the rest of the members feel about reopening Talent Hall.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Steve Weber about it briefly. Read his email. I understand that the emergency management team met up about this, and they have given the go ahead.
Yep.
To do it. You know, we have to, as a board, collectively come together and figure out a plan for reopening, I think. With that being said, I mean, I don't have any problem with it reopening, but we definitely need a protocol in place.
I would agree with that.
So,
Yeah, so
sorry, go ahead, Peter.
Okay, yeah, I also support reopening talent. I think that where we are right now, it makes good sense, and it's in line with other things reopening, and with EMT approval, that makes me comfortable as well. I think the challenges are going to be what we identified before, as far as cleaning it, making sure that happens routinely. I think we do need to have some assurance that we can support the custodial services for that and not rely on groups to come in. But I feel we probably have room in our budget to do that, given that there's been cost savings elsewhere. So we'd just like to see maybe a schedule that we could get in place with custodial services. And the only other thing I might suggest is that we maybe have a bit of a phase to reopening instead of having it completely open for any users right away. There still is a little bit of time here before there's full vaccination for everybody that wants it, particularly kids, but that should move forward in the next 6 weeks here. So I might suggest that we just have a bit of a phase in over June, but otherwise, I think we're good to open it back up to the public in line with other buildings in town.
Mr. Burns, I believe you were going to speak as well.
Yeah, sorry, I got logged out for some reason. Had to get back in. But I guess the only concern I would have, or question I guess I would have, is if we do open back up fully, or at least within the guidelines, I'd just be concerned if anything, if there was a minor outbreak or anything, what would our liability be? What would our responsibility be?
Yep, very good point.
My main concern is that, if you limit it to 100 people, that, inside there, I don't know if that's, we're certainly not going to have anybody enforcing that. It'd be on the people that are using it to enforce it. And not having somebody there, from the rec commission or from town, that would be enforcing this type of stuff. I'm just curious, I guess, more than anything. Ultimately, I do feel that, yeah, it's getting close to time to reopening everything from an indoor standpoint. But, you know, I guess that's just a question that I had.
Yeah, I don't think we as a board could enforce that. That would have to be, you know, an understanding, you know, maybe there's a waiver form or something that's saying that the groups are going to, you know, abide by the rules and do what they're supposed to do. You know, that's just about all we can do. I know I don't have time during the day to go sit there.
Babysit it.
Right, exactly. Are there any leagues that are looking to use it full time during the summer, or is it more just a random event here and there? You know, a random group here and there.
I mean, usually I'm gonna jump in. Usually the summer is the slow time for talent. So,
That's what I assume.
yeah, so, you know what I mean, I think, you know, the idea, Peter's idea of phasing in is pretty much naturally is gonna happen because, you know, realistically, June through, you know, August is the slower time there. So there probably won't be as many groups going in or trying to get in there. Usually a lot of times the summer is really overflow for the basketball league, the outdoor league that's put together by Jason Combe. If it rains, they go inside. Or, I mean, I'm not sure how much pickleball even stays in there over the summer, but I assume they may, you know, sometimes they want to be in there over the summer. I mean, leagues, I mean, I know for the soccer league, I know that, you know, and I don't know if we can do this like a general to whatever user, have someone sign an agreement, say, you know, sign a waiver saying they understand the risks that they're assuming, you know, based on close contact, and, you know, whatever for COVID reasons. I mean, those waivers are, you know, I guess debatable in terms of how much they actually do protect us, but at least it would be something. My other recommendation would be, you know, whatever we're approving, we don't approve it for 100. I mean, I'm thinking cut that in half and have that as like our max number right now. Realistically, you don't see many more. You don't see 100 in there except for the larger events anyway. But, you know, 100 people in Talent Hall now seems kind of, you know, just had that many people in Talent Hall. Like if you're talking about pure square footage of Talent Hall, fine. But I mean, are you talking about on the court? Are you talking about on the stage? Are you talking about, does that square footage include upstairs, the kitchen areas? What does that square footage include in terms of 6 people per, you know, a person per 6 feet? I mean, my recommendation, if we're going to open up Talent Hall, is that, you know, we probably limit it to half of what we're told capacity is right now.
I would agree with that.
I agree with that too, Mike.
Even if the square footage, we could occupy 100, there's no ventilation in that building, and that is the main concern with this virus. It's the lack of ventilation in that facility will definitely restrict us. But I agree with you 100% on limiting.
Side note, I do know that pickleball was reached out to, and they're not looking to use Talent Hall anytime soon. They're most likely going to be in there next winter.
Okay.
Just because they're outside right now.
What I will do is I will speak with the fire chief and the health officer to see if they have any restrictions and requirements, and I will also give them our input, such as a phased approach, limiting it to 50, some kind of waiver. We may have to have legal involved, getting a waiver. Like I said, this is the only people that have come forward so far is the scouts, and that is because they've been meeting in parking lots. They've met in the fire station. They typically meet in the church's basement, but that they don't have that access at this time. But they do plan on going back there. So now what they're looking for is someplace to go. The scouts have their own policies and protocols in place, and they really adhere to them. So opening it to the scouts, I definitely do not have any apprehension against. I believe they will do whatever is necessary.
We know when their first, you know, meeting is, or is it like every Saturday or? Not that it
I
really
do not know
matters.
this.
Just do we need to vote on it tonight?
No, we won't be able to make a motion on it tonight. The scouts approached just because they knew the way things would work, they approached the EMT to get the blessing. The EMT said it was fine. Then it was brought up at the Board of Selectmen meeting last night, and then it was going to be passed to us so that we're aware of it. I will reach out to find out more information, to find out exactly when they plan on doing it, when they need it for, how often, etc. How many people. I think my understanding is it's less than 30, and I think they meet once or every other week. I don't know the details, but that is something that we will get the details for.
Okay.
Yeah, and going back to that other point about the assistant, the custodian in town, we're gonna need to, like, if the custodian is available to do it, then we are gonna need to make sure that, something that's one of those things where it's either a regularly scheduled day, or depending on the activities, are we gonna have someone go in there the next day to, make sure it's clean? Like, we're gonna have to come up with a schedule and have that okayed by either, I don't know if the custodian makes his own, or he has to have it approved by, someone, either the selectman or by Troy or whomever, but we have to have some sort of a schedule set, realistically a schedule set up saying, okay, we're going to have a group in here. They're going to come in, once a week right now. How are we handling that? And then that's going to expand. If we get more requests, how are we going to handle those requests as well? How are we going to handle cleaning after the usage of town halls on those days? So I think we need to have a discussion with, the custodian or Troy or whomever, and say, okay, what leeway do we have in coming up with this? Because that person's only available to do it twice a week, then are we pretty much limited to trying to schedule around 2 days a week?
Right. Maybe we only have 2 slots available, or whatever it is.
Yeah, we also have to consider, I don't know if we have a budget anymore for custodial services. I think we did. I don't know what it's at.
I think it could fall under building maintenance.
Maintenance.
That's what we had talked about.
But that may also lead us into some kind of chargeback model where if it becomes a regular thing, we may have to charge the teams using talent for cleaning services. Okay, well, it's nice to hear that everybody is in favor of opening talent with restrictions, obviously restrictions. And I will reach out to the scouts to find out what they're looking to do, when, how often, et cetera, and I'll bring it back to the board next time we meet. Next topic. This is one that's going to be probably long and dragged out for a long time. Trash and recycling services. This is something that we discussed with Mr. Weber. We've discussed the issues with trash. Trash barrels are not being dumped. Dumpsters are being abused by residents, filling them up with mattresses. LBL, Litchfield Baseball. LBA pays for their own dumpsters and locks them, but they would like to stop doing that and instead have the rec pay, and then we, possibly do an exchange of money later on. So it's something that we have to definitely consider. I would like to reach out to a couple of the different trash and recycling services to see what they have an idea with and see what kind of cost. I know right now we have a different dumpster here than they do at Jeff Lane in Corning, and then the town garage, not the garage, the recycling center was picking up trash at Sawmill, but I don't know if they're doing that anymore either.
I mean, me personally. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Sorry, no, they are. I contacted Kevin. It's actually not recycling. The highway department's doing it.
It's the highway department. Okay.
The highway department, the transfer station originally was doing it, and a couple years ago it switched over to the highway department. And Kevin just didn't. And honestly, I should have been away. I should have woken up to the fact that I just needed to shoot Kevin an email and let him know. After the first week, it was full, and someone said something to me, and I'm like, oh man, I forgot. So I contacted Kevin. he did it. He went down there that day and emptied it for us, which was great. They usually empty it on Mondays. So I know going forward, they're going to be doing it on Mondays at Sawmill.
And they just basically go through the back gate, right? They're right there.
Yeah, I think. I mean, honestly, I don't know if they go through the back gate. I don't know if they come around the front. I mean, honestly, the trash where we have the trash, there are two sets of. There's a trash barrel and a recycling barrel. There's two of them. One of them really doesn't gain a lot of. It doesn't really get full because of where it is. The other one does get full, and it's right by the entrance. So I mean, and that's right by the turnaround. So they may come in the front. I mean, they may come down the path by the tennis courts to just do it because it's right there on the fence line instead of having to drive all the way around. So my guess is they come all the way around because I'm not even sure, you know, honestly, I'm not even sure they have the combo lock out back.
So this at Sawmill, there's only 2 trash barrels and they never get overly full?
If they're emptied once a week, no, they don't get overly full. If it's left, if there are times over that, then yeah, they will overflow, which has been a problem in the past. You know, I mean, once I knew last year, once it was worked out, because I think there was a thing where I don't know if it was the year before where it transferred around over or whatever, but once we got a regular schedule worked out last year, everything was fine. And now, I mean, Kevin was like, yeah, when I emailed them last week, it was just like, yep, got it. We'll start it up again. And it's back to every Monday. So once a week should be fine for Sawmill.
Because where I'm going with that is maybe do we need such large dumpsters at Dara and at baseball? Does baseball call when they need a dump? Or is it
We
scheduled?
do. So baseball has probably 6 trash barrels around the fields themselves that are locked up. They're chained to the fence. And then we empty those periodically when they're full and dump them in the big trash barrel. Then we call whoever we use for a service, and they come and pick it up and dump it they pick up the trash, and then we, repeat. Me personally, I think if we're going to have trash done at any of the fields, then we should do it at all of them. I don't think we should just do 1 or 2 fields. I think they should all be done. And I think we need to start budgeting for it. One thing I've noticed is that the trash has become a huge problem at all the fields. Just because, dumpsters are full or non-existent, and they keep getting, trash just keep getting thrown on the ground, and I'm sure there'll still be some of that, but hopefully it'll help with some of it. If I see something on the ground, I pick it up and I'll throw it in a dumpster if there's a dumpster there. But, I think more people would. But that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, even with Sawmill, like soccer has always had, and I think soccer is a bit different because, even Sawmill with lacrosse, it's not really we're sitting there and we're generating concessions and therefore generating trash. Usually what comes in is water. It's usually water bottles. That's usually the consistency of trash at the soccer fields, Innis as well as Sawmill. And Innis is carry in, carry out. Sawmill originally we wanted to do carry in, carry out, and the transfer station at the time volunteered to the rec commission that it would pick up every week. And that's really the only reason why Sawmill even has trash barrels and pickup there, because it was volunteered to do. Because realistically, what it comes down to is you end up, before at Innis, we used to have trash barrels there, and then the trash barrels get full, and the soccer board would be the ones responsible for getting the trash and bringing it to Dara. Because we were, Dara was still, we still used the Dara dumpster at that time we used it for trash. We still use it for paint cans now. And that's all we use the Dara dumpster for. but that's always been under the rec commission, but we were always you had to do it yourselves. And again, when enough people's cars get covered in whatever's leaking out of those trash bags, we finally went to carry in, carry out, because unfortunately, when you start putting a trash barrel there and stuff, you start getting, okay, here's someone's half full cup of whatever tossed in there. You get whatever sort of, pet cleanup goes in there. So now you have all these other factors in there. And if you're cleaning up yourself, now if someone doesn't do it on time, now you're talking about having to go in there with, the big rubber gloves and, a nose pick. So, and I mean, and no one really wants to do that. So, sitting around and doing carry in, carry out has worked. Yes, occasionally we have to go around and, pick up some bottles that are there, but, it becomes more of a, the trash that's there is more what's brought in, which is water bottles and things, as opposed to baseball and softball, which is definitely more, I think, trash intensive because of the concession stands.
Yeah, so Steve, I would definitely support looking at if we cost this out for services. I think, the volunteer model or even the carry in, carry out is nice from its intention, but practically speaking, it ultimately doesn't work over time. And, this is a request we've had from other groups in town about, hey, wouldn't it be nice to have the parks, without trash, and it just can't happen when the bins are overflowing. So I think this is a expense that would be supported. I don't really know what the cost would be, but I think, before we know it, we're going to be looking at next year's budget. So to really cost this out, I think would make good sense and provide a real practical benefit in town. So I appreciate the groups trying to do it through a volunteer position, but ultimately, I think practically speaking, it's not, fair to expect the volunteer groups to do that. And this should be a service.
All right. Mr. Burns, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I agree with Peter, and I agree with I agree that if we do one, we should, or if we do multiple, we should do all.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to a couple of the local vendors and try to get an idea of what they think it'll cost and how much. I do believe that, like, the dumpster at Dara is overkill, and it invites home waste being dumped there. I like the idea that Innis is a carry in, carry out, and it seems to be working, so we really don't have to mess with that. And then we'll consider Jeff Lane.
Well, I think I would do all of them. If we're going to do all of them, let's do all of them. You know what I'm
Innis
saying?
is, you're going to have somebody get in there to get the barrel because it's at a distance. These guys will only
You
do it
can't
if
drive in there.
it's locked.
Oh, okay.
You can, but then we have to give someone else
The code.
the code, yeah. And I'm thinking if they do it, like if it's one of the biggest services, they're going to have a fairly large truck, and that's not going to fit between that gate.
Right.
So Innis might be an outlier. But then, yes, we'll have to.
Ryan, are you still on? I see your name. I was just curious.
Yeah.
When
I'm here.
when you're mowing, do you see a lot of trash out there?
Yeah, yeah. For example, today, Brittany had to spend 20 minutes at Jeff Lane, Corning Fields, picking up around the concessions and the barrels. When the barrels get over full, the stuff ends up on the ground, and the wind picks up, it scatters, and we got to pick it up. Otherwise, if it gets mowed over, then the finger pointing starts, and
It's a bigger mess.
it's just frustrating when 20 minutes is spent on one site once a week. If it ends up happening twice a week, that's 40 minutes that we didn't account for, and we're not necessarily looking to build a town for either.
Right.
But the worst barrels that we tend to recognize week after week are the two barrels next to concessions at Corning, which is interesting because it's 50 feet from the dumpster. And then the barrels at the sawmill near the circle, when you come in, tend to accumulate very quickly and end up spilling out onto the ground.
Tell you what, I'll take care of Corning tomorrow. And please moving forward, just let me know if it happens again, because like Brittany shouldn't be cleaning that up.
No.
Yeah, we don't want to be beating a dead horse either. We're just trying to do our job and move on to the next. But this was brought up a couple times in emails last year. Another one that comes to mind is the barrel next to the snack shack at Dara. The barrels along the fence lines and dugouts remain relatively clean, but for some odd reason, that barrel next to the snack shack just gets forgotten. I feel like the same trash has been in there since last May.
So, I dumped it recently, but yeah, it's full again, and the concession is open, so I don't know why it's full. I believe if the concessions are the problem and creating the trash, the concession stands should be required to empty the trash at the end of the day. If that's where the majority of the trash is coming from concessions, they should be dumping the barrels at the end of the practices or games.
Yeah. I'll bring that.
And that was the response we got from emails last year, that they were supposed to be handled by those individuals at the completion of games and practices and such. So,
yeah, just so everybody
if we see something laying around, we will pick it up.
Just so everybody has an understanding, for LBA, I know that it's parent volunteers, and there isn't like a list of to-dos, but we need to make one, and we'll add that to the list. So at least the barrels closest to concessions will get emptied nightly, or not nightly, but after the games.
Yeah. So maybe the barrel at Dara that's problematic, we should move it close to the fence line. Then it's more apt to get. I've dumped it, but I have to bring my pickup over there. It's heavy. It's not the easiest thing to pick up, and who knows what's in there.
Oh, I know.
It's not the most enjoyable process, that's for sure. And I think if they're along the fence line or closer to the dumpster, maybe they're more apt to get dumped quicker. Right. That's a good discussion. We will have to definitely add this to our budget line. And like I said, I'll get some quotes from different companies to see what they think it would cost.
Yeah, see what options we have.
Because we only need it during the summer. Really. Well, maybe the one at Dara during the winter if more activity continues.
Steve, it's more. It's not the summer. The summer is it's spring to fall, pretty much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's everything but the winter.
Everything about winter. Yeah. Something else. We got an email today from the Conservation Commission. They sent over some details on grants that are available. I think we should look into this, and maybe we may be able to take advantage of some of these, such as the Dara Pond, where we're talking about milfoil treatment. If this is something that they will cover, I think that's something that we should chase down. Another one was about, they're all focused really around water. So it might be something, maybe we can get some enhancements done at the JB River access, but definitely Dara Pond and milfoil treatment. That seemed to be key to one of those. There was 4 of them that were sent over. If you guys got a chance, read the email and look it over. It's actually some pretty good grants and free money. Hard to pass up. All right, moving on. Old business. Talent Hall updates and repairs. I know Andy and I have had a couple discussions about this. You want to talk about the floors?
Yeah, I talked to a local company about the floors, and he basically told me there's literally nothing we can do to those floors at this point. So he said he's had that conversation with several people, and he said, buffing and poly, he's like, you're. So with that being said, I mean, what we need to do there is either replace the floors completely or move on to a different subject, something else that we can do as an improvement to that place.
Now, what is he saying? What is with the floor? They've just been sanded so much that they're just too
and
thin.
repaired, and Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing left. Like they've told us that it was a couple of years ago. I think Andy went to them.
Yeah.
Or even it might have even been John Bryan at the time. And it was legitimately there's nothing left to sand anymore. You can't go. After that. You're hitting like
So
the subfloor. So,
yeah.
I don't even know if there is an option. Like, I don't know what the option would be to even repair it or to replace it. So
I kind of looked at that. I mean, you're talking, $50,000-$60,000 to replace that floor.
yeah,
Is that for a wood floor? Could you go with one of those, the rubber or whatever, the mat floors?
You
There are
could,
companies that
but
come and have them like kits and they come and build them out.
even with that, you're talking probably 30.
Less maintenance going forward, probably.
Yeah, it is. But again, it's kind of like what we have to figure out what we're doing with that place.
Yep.
Now, could we even put something over that floor? Can that structure support any weight? I don't know what's underneath. I've never been under there. Honestly, Judy like snakes. Maybe she'll climb under there and tell us what's climbing around underneath Talent Hall.
This sounds like a form of hazing for the new guy.
But I remember Kevin Lynch talking about it. Maybe we have to have a conversation with Kevin to see what he says. But I thought that my impression is if we do anything to that floor, it's going to be a lot of money because the substructure also has to be reinforced because it's so old. Does that sound right, Mike? I know
it does sound right. Yeah, it does sound right. I mean, Kevin. I remember when Kevin was very active with this. He didn't want to go anywhere near it. So, I think that basically should tell us what we need to know. Is someone crawled under there at one point to do some sort of eval of it, and that's where the whole to replace it, you have to replace everything. You have to do everything. That's really where I know we brought it up before, but the inclination was like, if you're going to start putting this money into repairing Talent Hall in that sort of a grand scheme, you might as well just build something new.
Yeah, and so I recall that same conversation, and that's part of the reason we had that Warren article a year or so ago to see if the town was interested in taking a look at replacing it. And I wasn't the sense of the town at the time, so I think the alternative would be to put up a Warren article to replace those floors. I don't think there's any other option. And I recall that same thing. That's not just the floors themselves; it's a whole bunch of other substructure. So if they need to be replaced, it's going to be a big ticket item. I mean, they do need to be replaced, but if we're going to invest in that, then that's going to be a Warren article.
Yeah, the sad thing is if we don't take action, it's going to get to the point where the facility is going to have to be closed. It will become a hazard.
Let me do some digging into it and see exactly. I'll reach out to Kevin Lynch and see what he thought about the subfloor and then also reach out to some one flooring places, see if we can get some prices together so we can even create the warrant article this fall.
The other thing that came up is pickleball has been donating money to us to put into Talent Hall. I looked at the information. It did not specifically say it is for the floor. It is just Talent Hall. So maybe this would be a good opportunity to take some of that money and do some bathroom upgrades, turn things to more of a touchless style, replace the faucets with touchless, the toilets with touchless, that kind of, and maybe put at least a new floor in the bathrooms, update them. I went down today. They do look really old. I was standing there and I could hear one of the toilets cycle once in a while. So they are just flowing we're just flowing money down the sink or down the toilet. And then the other thing is the 30-gallon hot water tank is just sitting there keeping water warm for no one. So I think that's something we should consider replacing, as well as when we were there that day, the two small heaters in the bathrooms. We discussed possibly getting those replaced with something that has thermostats that we can set where they're just not on constantly trying to keep the bathrooms warm.
Yeah.
On or off, yeah. And I think Andy Collins mentioned we need to look at the heat tape on the pipes as well, because he doesn't know if it's old, so that we don't know if it even works. What are your guys' thoughts about using that money towards bathroom updates? Or are we throwing good money after bad money without being able to do anything with the floors?
I mean, again, this is one of those discussions. Like you sit there and you're like, okay, what do we do? Like, what do you do with a building that really needs to be just replaced? But we don't have the means to replace it, or don't have the desire. We have the desire, but we don't have the means to replace it. So what do? Do you sit there and pick the little pieces and like, okay, we're gonna make the bathrooms, touchless. Okay, great. We're gonna make sure we get the heating system working great, and then everything else just sits at a standstill, and we can't move forward because it's either too much money for this, it's not practical for that. I don't know what the solution is, honestly. I mean, unfortunately, it's one of those situations where, yeah, you're right. It's going to come to a point where eventually it's not going to be safe. We're going to have to just close it. And then it's going to come down back to the fact of, okay, well, now what do we do? Is the town going to step up and support building something that everyone uses? Like, it's not like talent isn't used. It's used a lot. And if it was a little bit bigger and a little bit more modern and a little bit more multifunctional, a lot more places would use it. But the thing is that right now we're using an antiquated building for as many indoor activities as we can in this town, because there's really no other place to do indoor activities. I mean, and I don't know what point we get to the breaking point in terms of, capacity of use. Can we use it anymore? Can we not use it anymore? But as of now, our hands are tied. So yeah, it looks like we're going to have to take money that could be put into a better end game, and instead just, fix the little things like the bathrooms.
I completely agree with all of that.
All right. So on that topic, if you can speak with Kevin Lynch, get an idea of what he's witnessed over the years.
Yeah, I want to see what we're up against. Maybe we can start getting some answers to those questions. What is the structure? Are the bones okay? Because if the bones aren't okay, then maybe we do need to have that discussion.
All right. Hardware to repair the slide at Roy Memorial. Have you heard back from the vendor on being able to obtain the bolts?
No, I did not.
The rail.
I did not. I will reach out to him again. I apologize. I kind of forgot about it.
All right. If you have the information, I could send an email as well, or I could talk to Rachel and get it if you wish. All right. That's all we have for old business. Anything else anybody wants to discuss on old business that we did not beat on already? No. All right. Let's go other business. Is there any other business? Hearing none. All right. So the last thing we have is a non-public. The commission is now entering a non-public session. While we do not anticipate the need to return to public session following the non-public session for any reason other than to adjourn the meeting, we reserve the right to do so if the non-public session necessitates the commission taking action in a public session. So we will have a roll call to go into non-public. Ryan and Judy, we thank you for attending this evening.
Thanks.
And Judy, I will be in touch with you and get you the information that you need to move forward with becoming one of us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Ryan.
All right, let's have a roll call vote to go into non-public, and then we'll wait till we are all set.
Aye.
Mr. Ames,
Aye.
Mr. Boshi,
Aye.
Mr. Burns.
Aye.
I am also an aye. So we will now go into non-public once these gentlemen say we're all set to go.